Hey, y'all, it's executive producer Sonia Cho Swanson. And guess what? New season, new rules. Fall restrictions are in effect September through October. That means grass can only be watered 3 days a week. And yes, it's the law. Don't miss a beat. Change your watering clock now. Trees and plants, they need less water, just a recommended 2 days a week with drip irrigation. Visit snwa.com to find your assigned watering days and tips to maintain a healthy landscape. SNWA is a not-for-profit water agency.
Until recently, I never heard anyone list mosquitoes as a menace in our community, but now it's rare to have a conversation with locals where it doesn't come up. I mean, people are comparing bites. So today on CityCast Las Vegas, we get to the bottom of this apparent surge with UNLV professor Louisa Messenger. Dr. Messenger dissects all the buzz about mosquitoes in our community, why it's happening, and what can be done. It's Wednesday, September 24th. I'm David Figler, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. So I have an exciting announcement before we jump into today's episode. We're kicking off our fall membership campaign today. It's that time of year, when we remind you that while this daily podcast is totally free to listen to, we do need your support to make it happen. You can support this show for just $10 a month or $100 a year to become a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor. Go over to membership.citycast.fm to sign up. At CityCast Las Vegas, we believe better neighbors make better cities. It's our mission. We want to equip you with the know-how to be a better neighbor every day by highlighting local businesses and keeping you informed on local issues that are important to everyone. I mean, being a good neighbor, well, that looks like feeling comfortable discussing what's on your mind and not being afraid to seek out those answers. It's asking your neighbor, like, hey, will you fill out this UNLV survey on mosquito populations? Because that kind of information helps our entire community thrive. And CityCast Las Vegas neighbors, well, that's just one more way you could be a good neighbor by supporting the team of locals who make this show happen every day. And to really kick things off, we've got a special perk for brand new neighbors. We're giving away 5 pairs of tickets to the Las Vegas Symphony's season opening performance of my favorite, Bugs Bunny at the Symphony. Kill the Wabbit, kill the Wabbit. And that's going to the first 5 people who sign up for membership. But here's the catch. You gotta sign up today. So head on over to membership.citycast.fm and become a neighbor now. Dr. Messenger, growing up in Las Vegas, perhaps one of the things I'm going to say we were most proud of, in a sense, was at least we don't have mosquitoes. Now, this was the 70s and the 80s. I'm a little older, but were we just fooling ourselves?
No, not at all. And I have heard this time and time again from the community members here that we haven't had mosquitoes until really, really recently. You're not wrong at all. We have seen significant changes in the valley, and we have seen an increase in the population density of different mosquito species, one of which is invading. It's really nasty, bites during the daytime, and people react really badly to those mosquito bites. That's why everybody's beginning to notice it. There are more mosquitoes in the environment, but one species in particular is really problematic.
So what species is that?
This is Aedes aegypti. If you see any mosquitoes out...
say it again. I've never heard, the actual designation of the mosquitoes we need to be looking out for. So I just want to make sure.
So Aedes aegypti is the mosquito that's invading and spreading across Clark County, but we also have a couple of vectors of West Nile virus, Culex quincunfasciatus and Culex tarsalis in particular.
Okay, and I know all of our listeners are completely writing down these genotypes.
There will be a quiz at the end of this.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's thank goodness there isn't. Okay, so these species are here. I mean, when did they arrive? There was this perception that we never had mosquitoes in Vegas before. So where did it change?
So there's two sort of issues going on. We have always had mosquitoes here in the desert. They've just been in much, much smaller densities. There's just been less people here in Clark County. We've
Mm,
occupied less of the valley. But really, the vectors of West Nile, those Culex species I just mentioned, they've been here at least since 2004, because that's when we've had the first reported human cases of those diseases.
mm.
That's why the Southern Nevada Health District have an annual mosquito surveillance program. You may see them out and about during the summer from April through to October setting traps. What they're trying to do is collect mosquitoes, those species, to monitor for West Nile virus, St. Louis encephalitis, and Western equine encephalitis. Those are all really nasty pathogens transmitted by those species that you really don't want to contract if you can avoid it. The reason, though, that we're seeing more mosquitoes now is in 2017, Aedes aegypti invaded. And it's that persistent mosquito that's now spreading wildly across the valley. And that's really why everybody's beginning to notice.
So where did they come from? I mean, I'm envisioning that the mosquitoes have a marketing plan to attract more tourist mosquitoes to come to fabulous Vegas, but I'm guessing it's a little more scientific.
Well, you're not entirely wrong, but genetically, in 2017, at least the initial population, the Southern Nevada Health District did do some genetic analysis, and they determined that they were most related to Orange Grove in County in California.
Mm.
But again, that depends on what's been sampled. We're actually doing some ongoing work at UNLV to try to figure out basically what's led to its explosion. Are we seeing multiple introductions? Essentially, are all these mosquitoes getting on an airplane every weekend to come and join us from different parts of the US? Or really, did it only happen once and then it's that same Californian population that's spreading like wildfire?
So, I mean, it's funny that you said, I thought you were joking with me, but are they literally hitching rides in people's cars, perhaps from California or on planes
Yes.
with our tourists?
It really just takes a small number of eggs to be introduced into the environment, and those can be in things like soil, other household items, anything. If there's standing water, it could be mosquito larvae in the beds of people's trucks, in camping equipment, all sorts of things. It does take time for these species to spread. These mosquitoes are not strong flyers. They're not going to fly 50 miles down the road to try to invade somewhere. It's a sort of a more, I guess, creeping, encroaching. The
Yeah.
problem is once they're here and the conditions are becoming more suitable for them, because we're basically building them into our environment as we continue to urbanize and modernize and use artificial water in our environment here in Vegas. While we're making the infrastructure more hospitable for ourselves, we're also making them far more hospitable for mosquitoes as well.
Oh, so we're talking about our pools and our water features
And
and
our golf
anything
courses, yeah, shopping malls,
golf courses.
fountains, yeah.
Mm.
Anything that's been irrigated with a small amount of water that's standing in the environment is perfect primed breeding sites for mosquitoes.
And I understand it doesn't have to be a large amount of water. Any small amount can, basically harbor what could be a pretty significant population just from those larvae.
It could be as small as a bottle of Coca-Cola, a can top, something as small as that. Essentially, female mosquitoes are going to take a blood meal every 2 to 3 days and then lay several hundred eggs at a time. So it really doesn't, it only takes a few to really begin to get out of control quite quickly.
Wow, very gothic in its implications here, the blood
Yeah.
meals. How worried should locals be, especially with the introduction of yet another species after, we had this West Nile scare?
So, I mean, we should be concerned about West Nile because it is a particularly nasty disease. Mainly, if you are immunocompromised or older, you are at risk of developing neuroinvasive symptoms, and those can be fatal. We've
Mm.
only had a few; it's comparatively a few human cases. The worst year was back in 2019, where we had 43 human cases. Most people don't have symptoms, though. About 80% of the population is walking around in the summer potentially infected and asymptomatic. Only 20% will develop those quite serious symptoms, but when they do, they can, yeah, be quite fatal. So that is of concern. Aedes aegypti, while she's spreading uncontrollably in the valley, she's not transmitting anything yet, but globally, she's the vector of dengue, yellow fever, chikungunya, and we all remember Zika from a few years ago. She's capable
Yeah.
of transmitting all of those pathogens, and we have had local dengue transmission from that species in Maricopa County in 2022, in San Diego in 2024, and these are our neighbors. We know that these pathogens, these mosquitoes, none of them respect any boundaries, political, geographical. So really, it is essentially only a matter of time until we could potentially have invasion of the pathogen, and we've already got the mosquito here. It doesn't help that we're also a really mobile town. I mean, we have more than 50 million tourists coming through the doors every single year from all
Yeah.
across the planet. So
And we want that. So, yeah.
we absolutely do. We just don't want the mosquito tourists and the pathogens associated
Yeah.
with them. That's the problem. So yeah, it's we don't want to scaremonger. We want to tell people to protect themselves from mosquito bites, be cognizant of them in the environment, to wear repellent, to wear long sleeves, to dump out standing stagnant water, to be good community members. But we do need to do something about the mosquitoes here in the valley. They're not going away.
Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, maybe even a whole new life. So why not start that journey today? I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and I'm learning Spanish with Babbel. Babbel's conversation-based technique quickly teaches you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. I've been practicing my Spanish with Babbel's AI conversation partner. I can choose my conversation topic and have a real-time dialogue. It's great at helping me think on my feet, and it's improving my pronunciation. Also, it's really easy to do anytime on my phone using Babbel's excellent mobile app. It's just one of the many fantastic Babbel tools for learning. Plus, Babbel has a real-time feedback, progress trackers, and handy visualizations, all of which make it really easy to stay motivated to learn. I want you to learn another language. So CityCast is teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Babbel.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hey there, it's Sonia Cho Swanson, executive producer at CityCast Las Vegas. And you know from listening to this show that we love helping you understand Las Vegas and be more a part of it. But the only reason this show works is because of you. You tune in because you're genuinely invested in the local conversation. And hey, if I had to guess, let me guess here, you're someone who shops local wherever possible, you might be the go-to friend for local gossip, and I would not be surprised if you carry your library card around everywhere you go. So if this sounds like you, I'd like to invite you to join CityCast Las Vegas Neighbors. Our membership program is designed to help folks like you who care about our city engage more deeply with life here. You'll get invites to members-only events, our curated weekly roundup of the best things to do in our city, and the chance to share what you love about Las Vegas on our podcast. Plus, your membership directly supports the people making this podcast so we can keep bringing you the local stories that matter. The producers of this show, that's me and Layla, we put hours into making sure each episode is carefully researched and thoughtfully edited. You know, sometimes by the time an episode comes out, we've actually listened to the tape like at least 4 times. And you know what? On the 4th listen, it still makes me laugh. I love it. So become a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor for $10 a month or $100 a year at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. Thank you so much. And wait, and now through October 3rd, when you sign up, you get this awesome tote. I love a tote. I know you love a tote. And it says, Neighbors make Las Vegas, because it's true. When neighbors show up, our community thrives. Join today to get the tote at membership.citycast.fm.
You know, being a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor comes with tons of perks. People love the ad-free listening, the special membership events, and, little bonus gifts here and there that come with membership. Members-only events. That's where we explore and better our city together, like checking out the scenes behind our local distillery or finding like-minded folks at trivia nights in venues like Barter Beer and Mall, which gave our neighbors a preview before it even opened officially down there in the Arts District. You also get a weekly email with hand-picked events from around the city to help you get out in the community, the opportunity to shout out a local business or organization doing good work in Las Vegas, and we can't forget that ad-free listening to CityCast Las Vegas podcast. That's like 3 minutes back of your life every day. So why not join us on our fall campaign? Because, anyone who joins is getting our extra special Neighbors Make Las Vegas tote too. When do the perks end? It's a reminder that when neighbors show up, our city thrives. Please take a moment right now to support this show and let us shower you with all these perks. Join right now for $10 a month or $100 a year at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. And I'm curious about, the new, I'm going to try to say it, the Aedes aegypti.
Yeah.
Close? Okay.
Spot on.
All right. I like it. What makes them more likely to spread those diseases than, the mosquitoes that I guess we are already used to?
It's about vector competence. It's about whether or not that mosquito, when it takes a bite from an individual that's infected, whether or not they can develop enough virus in the salivary glands to then pass it on again. Like I said, she's going to be taking it, but she gets hungry every 2 to 3 days. She needs that blood nutrition to be able to develop her eggs. So within a given lifetime of a mosquito in hot, not very humid Las Vegas, she'll live maybe 2 to 3 weeks. Our colony mosquitoes at UNLV can live at least a month, especially the ones that we've collected from the wild. So if you then extrapolate how many times she's going to eat, and sometimes that particular species doesn't take a full meal the first time. She's snacky, right? She's having girl dinner across the back. But every person that she bites, even if she's only taking a small amount of blood, that's an opportunity for transmission. So you get your epidemiologists who build these big models where you calculate the number of mosquitoes, number of blood meals they're going to take, number of times they're going to bite. And so when you get disease introduced into those contexts, it can get serious. You can have local epidemics and outbreaks.
Okay, well, keep the locks on the doors over at UNLV in the labs. We do not need a jailbreak. Let me ask you this: Are there any benefits to our environment from an increased mosquito population, just in general? Pathogens aside, as the consequence.
I get this question a lot because I think everyone's like, why don't we just eliminate all mosquitoes from across the planet and be done with it? And the kind of short answer to that is they do play a role in our ecosystem. They are going to be predated and eaten by other insects, other small mammals. They do have a role in the food chain. So as soon as you start to eliminate different species, you can have those kind of knock-on Jurassic Park style collateral events that we just want to avoid. We don't want to be messing essentially with millennia of evolution here. So mosquitoes, they're not good though. We should be doing some level of control. We do need to be thinking about when the threshold at which they do become a problem to us from just a biting nuisance as well as a public health point of view. And at that point, what are the options? What can we do about the situation?
Yeah, those tricky ecosystems. But maybe what's even more tricky about our ecosystem here in Las Vegas is that we do get, tens of millions of visitors every year who aren't necessarily prepping for mosquito mitigation one way or the other, whether it's the bringing it or the being exposed to it when they come here. And I'm wondering if there's any unique challenges to Vegas having such a robust tourist population when it comes to your studies.
Well, that's the problem. We are a melting pot of people. Would you want to keep that? But as I said, it's really only just takes a few infected people to come in, be bitten by our local species, and then establish some transmission. And that's how we have imported diseases that the CDC monitors. We have imported malaria every year coming in. We've had imported dengue and Zika, particularly in places like Texas and Florida as well. We just don't want Las Vegas to become like that.
Right, because I think that our tourist bureau would be very concerned about the exported, consequences as well. If people are coming here getting bitten by, I want to say these weaponized mosquitoes, it's going to really hurt our reputation that we're, amongst the category of swampy places to avoid, and nobody wants that.
Well, we're certainly not swampy, but you're not wrong. Mosquitoes basically are flying hypodermic syringes. That's really what they've evolved to become, and that's what we really do want to avoid. We don't want to have a reputation for any kind of disease transmission. I don't think most tourists know that we do have West Nile transmission in our environment here every year. Yeah. Again, the risks are more minimal, but you will have people becoming infected who will remain asymptomatic. They'll never go to urgent care. They'll never get diagnosed. They'll have a mild fever, some fatigue. They'll probably think they just drank too much the night before, but they may well have acquired a pathogen here.
Yeah, it's hard to forget the big spread of COVID. One of the ground zeros was one of our bigger conventions, the CES convention, where hundreds of thousands of people came here. And this is before the big outbreak. And then all of a sudden, there was a lot of tracing back to that Las Vegas event. And I think it did hurt us in a lot of ways. Let me switch gears a little bit, and I want to ask a very practical question. I'll be sitting in my backyard, which, by the way, doesn't have a pool or anything like that, or even on my couch inside the house, and all of a sudden I start scratching, or I'll see a
Hmm.
big welt on my leg or my arm that seemingly came out of nowhere. Is there an alert for me to do something to be more proactive with these kind of stealthy mosquitoes in my community?
So, I mean, what's happening is basically once the mosquito lands and starts to take a blood meal, she's anesthetizing you. She's injecting you with anesthetic so you can't feel that she's there.
Damn
She's
it.
also injecting you with an anticoagulant so your blood doesn't clot, so she can get as much blood before you cotton on, essentially. So that's why you won't necessarily realize you've been bitten until a few minutes after the fact. Then that's when it becomes bumpy, itchy, scratchy,
Yeah.
nasty. She's already gone. She's an escape artist.
Because I would swat it if I saw it. Like if there's a fly, I'm good to go. If there's a scorpion, I know what to do. But these mosquitoes, they're sneaky.
That's her defense mechanisms. That's so that she doesn't get killed by you and she can pass on her genes and continue to reproduce in the environment.
Wow. So what are the best preventative measures if you're just inside your house?
So ideally, you do need to identify where they're breeding because, like I said, these mosquitoes, they're not really strong flyers. If she can get everything that she needs in and around your house and your back garden, she's not going to leave. She's not going to go to your neighbors. She will stay. She's probably breeding quite close by, could be next door over, especially if they do have a swimming pool.
They
So
do.
yeah, well, I mean, and you can call up for SNHD to report mosquito complaints. You can also call out the private pest control companies. But one of the things that we're doing this summer that we really want to start having a broader conversation at the community level with is whether we should be doing wider mosquito abatement, which is what other parts of the US do, like Salt Lake City, Maricopa County, all
Mm,
over California. When you have mosquitoes in the community, there's only so much that you can do at the individual level. You can be wearing topical repellents, but in your house, but that's on you to go and purchase that. You can be, you can use your air conditioning, have your fans running. That will make it more difficult for her to find you. Again, she's not a strong flyer, so any movement or air current. But those mechanisms aren't perfect. Really, what you want to do is go to the source. You want to get rid of the mosquitoes in the environment, find the breeding sites, and potentially target the adults as well.
So let me ask you, in your opinion, do other southwestern cities that are facing some of these similar situations have maybe a better response plan in place, or is there at least something that we can do that we aren't doing right now that we could learn from our neighboring communities?
Certainly. What a lot of places that have significant mosquito populations, they have coordinated abatement districts. So essentially, it's some kind of entity that is mandated to be able to do control in the environment. What type of measures they do, what they use, again, will depend on the particular place, the particular mosquito species, because they have preferences for where they breed, when they're going to bite, where they're going to be found. But it will usually be a series of targeting the larvae when they breed with larvicides, the adults in the area with spraying of adulticides, so insecticides that target the adults. Some places use genetically modified mosquitoes, sterile insect technique, to try to depress the population in the first place. Other
Wow.
places deploy traps to do mass trapping. So essentially, these are traps that the mosquitoes are going to be attracted to. Once they're inside, they can't escape and bite anybody. There's a whole heap of different control techniques that you can use, again, depending on your local context. But the reason why you want it, though, to be coordinated is so that it's not just private entities and pest companies that are charging the individual homeowner a fee, that it's at the governance level and that it's part of your tax dollars. And because it's coordinated, it means you mitigate the risk of developing pesticide resistance by overuse of different
Ah,
chemicals in the environment. Mosquitoes reproduce every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, there's an opportunity. That's the length of her life cycle. Every 2 weeks, there's the opportunity for mutations to happen, for resistance. It's like drug resistance and antibiotic resistance, same kind of treadmill. Once you're on that, if you continue to overuse an insecticide, sooner or later she will mutate and adapt. And some of the mosquitoes here are already resistant to some of the public health chemicals. That's one of the other projects we have in our lab at UNLV, is just looking at, if we were to start doing coordinated chemical control, what options do we have? There is only so many different insecticides that you can use in the environment that are both safe for humans, aren't going to kill our non-target organisms like our bees and our pollinators. There's not that many of them. So we need to be judicious with what we use. And we already have some that have been ruled out because of resistance here in Las Vegas.
yeah. So let me ask you this. If you were to give a grade to how Southern Nevada is doing with regard to these various mitigation techniques you're talking about, how are we right now?
In terms of your mosquito surveillance, you get an A+ because the Southern Nevada Health District do a fantastic job. They're not mandated to do any control. In terms of control, it's really down to decentralized individual pest companies, individual communities. Um,
And I
so
hear in your voice that you don't think that that's the way to go.
I'm not sure they'd pass my course at UNLV.
Yeah.
But there's more that we can do. Put it that way. There's more that we could do.
Okay. So with these pest companies, and I just want to follow up on that, let's say your apartment complex or as a homeowner, you realize, man, these mosquitoes are really out of control. I'm going to call somebody. Is there a possibility that you could be hurting the overall picture by doing it that way? And is it effective, I guess?
Well, so there's no baseline data to say what chemicals that you should be using in the environment in Las Vegas that are going to be efficacious against mosquitoes. We're trying to collect that data now, but there's no central resource. So it's not like a pest control company would look at their dossier of insecticides and go, okay, well, we can use that, but not this or this one. They'll use what's available, what's cheap, what they probably already got in stock. And that may have an initial impact on your vector population. You may see a little bit of knockdown, but if they continue to use the same thing, or if, let's say, you live adjacent to a golf course and they've been spraying a particular chemical to keep their grass pest-free, luscious, mosquito-free, you may already have resistance from another source that you're unaware of. That's the level, that's that coordination. We need to be talking to one another. We need to be working together, not as separate entities, so that we can learn and go, oh, well, actually, we used that last month and that didn't really work. So one of us says, we've got to switch to something else. Or we think we're going to lose a chemical to resistance. So now we need to start rotating and looking at our options. That gets really complicated. It also gets really costly. And we usually tend to go for, the lowest cost, easiest to do, right?
Cheap and easy is
exactly
definitely...
cheap and cheerful. But
yeah.
But we need to be pragmatic with this, right?
I want to be pragmatic, but I also realize that there is no regional task force on mosquito abatement that's coordinating efforts.
Not currently.
And that scares me now. You've scared me. You have fear-mongered me.
I'm sorry. That is not my intention.
No, but, I want there to be more institutional responses to this. So what can we as citizens do to help hasten this?
So at the moment, we are running a survey at UNLV. One of our Masters of Public Health student for her dissertation is running a survey to basically canvass our community. We want to hear from everybody, as many people as possible. Do you have mosquitoes in your back garden or in your community? Are you being bitten? Do you think it's a nuisance? Maybe you aren't getting bitten. I live in a pocket in Henderson where we just don't happen to have mosquitoes. I work every day with mosquitoes. I know it's a problem. But if I was answering my own questionnaire, honestly, I'd say no, I don't get bitten. I get bitten at my friend's house across town, but not where I live. And mosquito infestation is focal. There are pockets of serious infestation, particularly in North Las Vegas and Summerlin and little bits of Henderson, not where I am. But we want to hear from people. Do they think it's an issue? Would they want some kind of coordinated mosquito abatement? And if so, would they be willing to be taxed for it to the tune of $10, $20 a year for your household? And we have a scale to see how much people would be.
Yeah.
How much would you be willing to pay? Because I would be willing to pay $20, even though I have no mosquitoes in my backyard, but my friends do. $20 seems very reasonable for me, all my household members per year. If I was to pay a private pest company to come out and do repeated treatments, you'd be running to several $100s, and you may not even still fix the problem. So even if they're not a problem for me, as a public health professional, I would like to contribute to my community, and $20 seems very reasonable. But we want as many people to fill this survey out, because maybe you don't feel like that. Maybe you feel in the opposite direction. We want to know. We want the community members to really be driving this conversation forward, because that's what public health is, right? That's for you guys to tell us. Is this an issue?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we're definitely going to be linking that survey in our show notes so that our listeners have an easy way to go and take that survey, which you have convinced me is very, very important. I will confess to you that I am one of those people who stops my neighbors and immediately starts talking about the mosquito bites. And then we start lifting our shirt sleeves or our pant legs and comparing what are sometimes nasty looking welts. And, maybe what I do now is whip out my phone and say, hey, why don't you take the survey?
Please do. We want to hear everybody's opinion, even if it's not necessarily, I know mosquitoes are an issue, but maybe they're not for you. We want to hear from everybody as much as possible. We're running the survey until the end of the mosquito season, which should be around about Halloween, usually when the temperature drops. So we've had more than 1,200 responses, though, overwhelmingly in support that we need to be doing something about mosquitoes. But we still have some zip codes where we don't have anybody responding. So we'd really like to get this out just to as many people as possible so that we can have a greater voice.
Yeah, and I appreciate the Gothic theme and that Halloween is kind of the deadline. But, you know, we also refer to that as Nevada Day, which may be even more apropos here.
Yep. Hey, perfect.
Well, thanks. Well, Dr. Messenger, I really appreciate your time. And this is so informative and so important. And I thank you for coming here on CityCast Las Vegas.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
And that's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? You could also rate our show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. And don't forget, we've got 5 pair of tickets to the Las Vegas Symphony for the first 5 people who sign up for membership today. So become a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor now at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Till then, stay lucky.